Where there's smoke, there's fire. The words of Phil Spencer have been dissected and analyzed for the past week now, and I think it's time we dive into this all. Up next. What up, guys? This is KLO, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and welcome to the Level Up. So, in today's Level Up, we're going to be circling back to Phil Spencer's words on the Kinda Funny Xcast, primarily because we just focused on the Redfall side of things. Now I want to dive into the bigger Xbox bubble. What could go wrong? And after conversating with you guys in the comments, it seems like that was just the tip of the iceberg, especially when it came to Redfall. And normally, I'm not this critical here on this channel. And I am by no means certified in business or anything like that, so this is just coming from an Xbox fan's perspective here. So this is the first quote up, and boy is it a doozy. And this quote comes from Phil Spencer on the Kinda Funny Xcast. I see commentary, if you just build great things, everything will turn around. It's just not true. That if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you will see console shares shift in some dramatic way. So let me get this straight. If you don't make great games, you won't sell consoles. Okay. But to add context, which is very key in all this, guys, he was talking about the ever so great console wars and how even if they built great games, they will not beat companies like Nintendo or Sony, so they have to go on their own path and innovate. But in the odd case here, I can't disagree more with Phil Spencer here. Isn't the concept of great games the exact formula that companies like Nintendo and Sony were built off of? And again, I'm by no means a business pro here, but Phil, you just can't stand out there and tell people about how you're not making great games. Now, I don't think Phil would just come out and say, hey, our games suck and you get what you get. So he might have just worded things wrong here. And exactly that happened. Later on, Phil Spencer replied to a tweet from @Twitter user ModernVintageG that read, quote, I don't think Xbox needs to build great games to win the console race. They just need to build great games. And personally, I think that was the message that Phil Spencer was trying to get across. It's not about quote unquote winning anything. They're a gaming company, and it should be the main goal just to make great games. And while on the Xcast, he did mention Hellblade 2 and Avowed are shaping up to be good. And I think those are the two games that will appear at the game showcase in June. But if Xbox makes great games, console sales will go up. And let's just say Starfield was a 12 out of 10. It broke the scale. I don't think people will throw out their PS5s right out the window, but I think people will buy a Series X or hop on their PC to play that game. Hell, that's what I did for games like God of War, The Last of Us, and I'm almost always suckered into buying whatever Nintendo drops console-wise, because of the games. Now, one of you guys in the comments did bring up games like Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush, which are successes in their own right, but those are niche games. In the broader sense, we're talking about releasing the Halos, the Gears of War, Starfield, and quote-unquote console movers. And they did say on the Xcast, Phil appeared almost directly after the storm that was the Redfall launch, and he did say himself, quote, yeah, you might try to get me unpositive. I'm not in the positive mode this week, so I apologize for staying in cranky mode. And after Redfall, I can see why Phil Spencer was just so frazzled. So props to him for still showing up and taking it on the chin. But walking away from that interview, the general fan reception was that Xbox was just okay making meh games and coming in third place. And coming off the heels of Redfall, it's just not the message you want to send to your fans. But going even further back, Xbox and Bethesda originally announced that they were delaying both Redfall and Starfield. They said they wanted to deliver, quote, the best and most polished version of these games. Phil Spencer replied to that tweet saying, quote, the decisions are hard on the teams making them and our fans. While I fully support giving these teams time to release these great games when they're ready, we hear your feedback. Delivering quality and consistency is expected. We will continue to work to better meet those expectations. That was a tweet sent out in 2022. So between that time and now, what the hell happened? And it's not just Redfall and it's not just Starfield. Games like State of Decay 3 had multiple reports done how there are internal problems with morale, and that's putting it plainly. And then half of the Perfect Dark core dev team have quit, causing Crystal Dynamics to have to step in. And when looking back at Starfield, that first initial gameplay trailer had visible frame rate issues. But Phil Spencer did say Starfield got more assistance than Redfall throughout development. And let's step back from Xbox and let's look at the Sony side of things. I can't really recall a game in recent memory that came out in the state that Redfall did. Of course, games like The Last of Us Part 1 came out with bugs on the PC port, but the original game was amazing. Days Gone was another title that had some controversy behind it at launch, but it was nowhere near Redfall bad. All of this just kinda causes worry and a bit of second guessing for normally positive Xbox fans like myself. Sure, games like Halo Infinite had a good campaign, but at first, multiplayer did have its fair share of issues, and is now just hitting its stride in Season 3 a whole year after launch and a full delay. But let's just say this interview didn't happen and we didn't hear Phil Spencer talk about anything he did. Xbox from the start of this generation had a clear vision towards the future. So I think it's pretty clear as day here, they're heavily invested in things like improving Game Pass and just cloud streaming. But with all that being said, I'm gonna pass this question off to you guys. Let's just say that upcoming Xbox Game Showcase hits it out of the park. They wave their magic wand and correct everything you had gripes about. Would that still make things better, or would you still have some reservations about things? For me, I'm more of in the camp of show me. Show me you can release a game like Starfield with little to no problems. I'm not expecting a perfect launch, but make it somewhat decent and playable. Let's walk before we can run. But that about does it here. I've been K-Lo. I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and this has been the Level Up.